My son Trevor raised a glass at my 62nd birthday. The restaurant was filled with the soft hum of voices, the clinking of cutlery, the glow of chandeliers bouncing off polished glasses. It should have been a night of warmth, of laughter, of gratitude for the life I had built. But instead, Trevor smirked, his glass of wine trembling slightly as he lifted it high. "To my father," he said, his voice loud enough to silence the tables nearby. "A man who wasted his life, a man with nothing to show for all his years." The words struck like a slap. Conversations died, forks froze midway to mouths, guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. My neighbors, Trevor's business friends, people who had come to expecting to celebrate. My hand tightened around my own glass. The stem felt cold, brittle, fragile. I forced a smile, though it cracked on my face like old porcelain. Trevor leaned back, loosening his tie, grinning as though he had triumphed. Beside him, his wife Lindsay sipped her wine, her diamond earrings flashing beneath the chandelier. Her lips curved into a cruel smile, as if my humiliation were her entertainment for the evening. "Are you done?" I asked quietly, my voice carrying more steel than I intended. Trevor laughed, sharp and cutting. "Done? I'm just getting started. You act like some saint, Dad. But look at you. Look at this." He gestured broadly at the half-eaten cake on the table, at the modest decorations. 62 years, and this is it? You're nobody. Always were." The silence that followed was suffocating. My chest burned, but my hands remained steady. I thought of the envelope in my jacket pocket, the deed to a house worth $2 million, my life savings, my gift to him and Lindsay. A future secured. But now that gift felt like a stone pressing against me, heavy and mocking. "I was going to give you something tonight," I said, my voice even, though my pulse pounded in my ears. Trevor raised an eyebrow. "A house," I continued, "paid in full. But after this," I looked straight into his eyes, "forget it." Gasps rippled around the table. Trevor's smirk faltered. "You're lying," he snapped, slamming his fist onto the table. Wine splashed, staining the white cloth like blood. "You? Buy a house? You're too cheap to buy yourself a new car." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The truth was in my eyes, and he saw it. His cheeks flushed crimson. Rage twisted his face. He shoved his chair back and stood, his voice rising. "You're pathetic, Dad. Always playing the victim. I'm done with you." Lindsay touched his arm, her voice dripping with disdain. "Let's go, Trev. He's not worth it." And with that, they stormed out. The door slammed shut, the sound like a gunshot. I sat among the wreckage of half-eaten food, untouched cake, and the pitying stares of guests who didn't know where to look. That night, my house was unbearably quiet. I sat with the family album in my lap, its leather cover worn, its pages filled with smiles that belonged to another lifetime. There was Trevor at 5, clutching a balloon at a picnic, his grin wide enough to split the sky. There was Trevor at 18, proud and tall, ready for college. I remembered selling my old car, the beat-up Honda I loved, to pay for his first semester. Watching it drive away felt like losing a piece of myself, but I told myself it was worth it. Always worth it. I remembered the nights of double shifts, my eyes burning as I crunched numbers for the firm so Trevor could graduate without debt. I remembered wiring him $50,000 when his first tech startup failed, telling him not to worry, that I believed in him. And I remembered Ellen's funeral, my wife, his mother. While I shook hands with mourners, Trevor stood in the corner scrolling on his phone. He left early, mumbling something about a meeting. I closed the album, my chest aching. Decades of sacrifice. Decades of love. And what did I get? A son who spat in my face? A daughter-in-law who looked at me like dirt? No more. I had been silent long enough. I sat at my desk, the laptop's glow illuminating my face. My hands shook at first, but steadied as I typed Trevor's name into the search bar. Articles appeared. Glossy headlines of success, smiling photos of Trevor shaking hands with investors. But buried beneath them were whispers. Local entrepreneur faces scrutiny over unpaid debts. Fintech startup bleeding money as investors flee. My lips curled into a thin smile. Trevor was in trouble. And Lindsay, her Instagram was a shrine of lies. Designer bags, staged brunches, flawless captions. But in the comments, I saw cracks. Accusations of fake followers. Whispers of brands cutting ties. They thought they were untouchable, but I knew exactly where to strike. The first move was Trevor. I crafted an anonymous email to one of his investors, attaching proof of his shady loans. My finger hovered over the send button only for a moment, then clicked. Days later, the newspaper headlines screamed, "Local entrepreneur faces financial ruin." Trevor's company was collapsing. His accounts frozen, his reputation in tatters. I could almost hear his voice again, calling my life wasted. But this time, it was his life unraveling. Next was Lindsay. I had a recording. Her voice, sharp and cruel. "He's pathetic. He's no father." I leaked it to a rival influencer, someone eager for revenge. Within hours, the internet turned on her. Sponsors vanished, followers mocked her, her empire crumbled overnight. For the first time in years, I smiled. One evening, there was a furious knock on my door. I knew who it was before I opened it. Trevor stood there, soaked from the rain, his shirt clinging to him, his eyes wild with desperation. "Dad," Trevor's voice cracked. "We're sorry. Please. We've lost everything. Help us." I stared at him, remembering the birthday toast, his smirk, his words, "Your life is a waste." "You made your choices," I said coldly. "You're not welcome here." Trevor's face twisted. "You'll regret this." Lindsay's mask slipped, her voice trembling. "Please, Frank, we're family." "Family?" I asked. "Family doesn't humiliate each other. Family doesn't spit on sacrifice." I opened the door wider, pointing to the rain. "Get out." They hesitated, then turned. The door closed behind them with finality. For the first time in decades, I felt free. Weeks later, I stood at a podium in front of a community center. Behind me, a bronze plaque gleamed. The Emily Greenwood Foundation. "This foundation," I said into the microphone, "is for families who need a hand, for children who deserve a chance. This is Emily's dream, and today, it's real." Applause thundered. A young mother clutched my hand, her son beside him holding a scholarship letter. "This changes everything," she whispered, tears in her eyes. I nodded. Words caught in my throat. That night at Emily's memorial stone, I sat with an envelope in my hand. Trevor's handwriting, his last letter. Inside were excuses, pleas, promises to change. My fingers trembled as I struck a match. The paper curled, blackened, and turned to ash. I watched it drift away into the night sky, light as the burden I had finally set down. "I did it, Em," I whispered to the stone. "I'm free." The next morning, I booked a ticket to Rome. Her dream, now mine. Cobblestone streets, cafes filled with laughter, a life unburdened by betrayal. As I closed my suitcase weeks later, the clock ticked softly in the background. But for once, it didn't mock me with wasted time. It counted forward, towards freedom, towards peace, towards living for myself.
and as I stepped out the door, the road ahead was wide open.